There we go. All right, good morning. This is the May 15, 2025 meeting of the Southern Region Board of Review. This hearing is being held via WebEx video conference at the Perry B. Duryea Jr. State Office Building, 250 Veterans Memorial Highway, conference room 4A9A, Hauppauge, New York, 11788. Time is now 9:11, and this hearing is officially open. The members of the board are Andrew Hames, Erica Schaub, Richard Bavone, Laura Bruce Lehman, and myself, Robert Peterson, Chairman. From the Department of State is Courtney Nation and CJ Ajoku. We are adding an administrative matter to today's agenda. Each year, members of the regional boards are required, as per Title 19 NYCRR, Part 1205.2, to choose a chairperson from among its members. This vote will be the last item on the agenda today. We are now hear the scheduled petitions. When you speak, please address the board and give your name, title, and legal address so that our court reporter can have all the information requested. We may have to stop from time to time to consult with our technical staff. In making comments to the board, please provide a descriptive narrative on matters referring to your exhibits to enable the court reporter to enter these into the record. The first hearing is in the matter of petition number 2024, the 2024? Yeah.
Yes.
0545. The petitioner is Louis Santoro, architect, for Anthony Farino. Okay, this petition pertains to an existing detached single-family dwelling of one story, wood frame construction. The dwelling is approximately 4,600 square feet in total gross floor area and is located at 515 Gin Lane, Southold, Town of Southold, County of Suffolk, State of New York. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R310.1, which requires that basements, habitable attics, and every sleeping room shall have not less than one operable emergency escape and rescue opening. Where basements contain one or more sleeping rooms, an emergency escape and rescue opening shall be required in each sleeping room. Emergency escape and rescue opening shall open directly into a public way or to a yard or court that opens to a public way. The petitioner wishes that a side hinge door in the garage be allowed to serve as the emergency escape and rescue opening for a basement recreation room at the garage level. Okay, Mr. Farino, you have the floor.
I'm not sure if my client, this is Lou Santoro, architect speaking. I'm not sure if my client got connected yet. Is it okay if I speak on his behalf?
Yeah, sure. Tell us what's going on.
Okay. Louis Santoro, architect, 204 Fifth Street, St. James, New York. My client has a one-story single-family dwelling, and it's on a the grade is sloped left to right, so there is a walkout basement on the left side. I know you have all the evidence that I've sent you guys for the application, floor plans, pictures. He has a finished, half the basement is finished for a rec room. He has a interior stair going down, and then from the rec room, he has a door going to a very large attached garage. And then that garage is at grade, obviously, and there's two garage doors and another swinging door to go directly to grade. Instead of adding an emergency escape and rescue opening, a window with a window well, he would like to use the door to the garage and then the two garage doors and the sliding door as his emergency escape from the basement.
What's the status of the project? It's all completed?
It is completed. The finished basement is a maintained and legalized application with the Town of Southold.
Okay. So this is an appeal of the code official's interpretation of a EERO. Any of the board members want to ask any questions?
A couple of questions. On your foundation plan A1, where you circle, if somebody circled, or this with a question mark, it's the doorway going into the garage. The window that's perpendicular to it in the space, why couldn't they put a doorway right there?
Or an EERO.
Or an emergency means of egress
Yeah.
window? Well,
He, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. What is a circle over?
Exactly. What's the hardship?
what's the hardship on your plan, A1? You show the doorway going into the garage from the space. It says, or this with a question mark.
Okay.
That's something that was put on after the fact?
Oh, I don't, yeah, I have no idea who put that on. That wasn't me.
Okay, so
Yeah.
but the doorway that you have leads into a space which has vehicles that potentially could combust and cause a fire. And realizing that they can go out the other set of stairs, I do understand that, but why couldn't there be a doorway perpendicular to that on the outside?
He could
Okay,
add,
so that's where the window is.
Mhm,
Okay,
right there.
still could be emergency means of egress.
It could be a window, yeah. There's a retaining wall.
Yeah.
Because the grade slopes up to the front door. That window to the right of that garage door, Mr. Pavone is asking about, what's the hardship to put an EER right there directly out of the rec room rather than going through a hazardous garage space?
there is no technical hardship on that. I have to be honest with you, there is no technical hardship on that. It was a maintain and legalize. We were hoping that going through the garage would be acceptable.
I mean, they could even pull some of the retaining wall out and create an actual doorway if they had to. Some more money, but it would be safer.
Yeah, so I guess we just have to, as a board, decide whether or not going through the garage for an EERO complies with code or the intent of the code, or if we disagree. And then if we disagree, then there's the alternative.
So my last question that
Request.
I have at this point is on the application for the code enforcement official variance questionnaire. There's no signature and there's no markings on 10 through 13. Is the code enforcer for this or against this?
Mr. Verity of the town of Southold would like us to get a state variance. He was not comfortable with this at all.
But why didn't he fill out the questionnaire?
Excuse me?
Why didn't he fill out the questionnaire?
He refused to. My client went to see him in the village hall and he did not want to sign it. I do not know why.
And he could oppose it if he wanted to. I think that's something that's required, right? Typically,
But we can compel, the code official to sign the
why
document.
not, Courtney? Come on.
Typically won't get that from.
We just, if they don't sign it, then we can assume that they're not
In favor of it.
in favor of it. Have some reservation.
Any other questions from the board?
No.
I understand that the homeowner is not on the call, but have you?
No, I am on the call now.
How are you, Mr. Perino?
Hi, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I had trouble with my internet.
No problem, no problem. We're just talking about this door that you guys want to qualify as an EERO, which is an emergency escape and rescue opening. I like the fact that the door is in the back of the garage, so if you had two cars in there, maybe, I don't know, maybe if the other door between the habitable space and the garage was moved back to the basement and you had a straight run to the door and maybe stripe the slab with some striping so there was no storage, and then you could just go right out without being encumbered.
So what's the difference in the cost between doing that and then just putting the emergency needs egress window well in front of the house?
I mean, that's a question for the applicant.
Well,
petitioner?
I have no problem doing any striping or adding, let's say, a fire sign, a fire exit sign with reflective tape or what have you. I have no problem doing any of that.
Mr.
How long have you owned this
Mr.
house?
Farino, I'm sorry, gentlemen. Mr. Farino, Lou Santora speaking. What the board is asking is the door that goes into the garage now, are you willing to, this is just a suggestion, it's not an official vote yet, that the door that's going to the garage now, you move it towards the back of the rec room so you enter the garage more in the back. So when you walk out that door, the other door that goes out the side of the house to the exterior is directly in front of you instead of traveling in a diagonal to get to it from where the door is now.
We have a lot of the pipes and the wiring are in that back part which would have been the second garage door, and that's why that fire door was put where it was.
See, there's an escape piece and there's a rescue piece here. I think the escape, because you're familiar and you'd be able to get out and navigate the garage and get out to grade. But for an emergency, a rescue where the primary internal stair might be encumbered by a fire and now someone has to rescue, they got to navigate the garage to get into the basement. And I think that's where it doesn't appear to me to be rather convenient or, not a hazard for, personnel.
We have two garage doors. The garage is 35 by 25. I have no lawnmower. I have no snow blower. I have no what have you. In fact, we don't even put the cars in the garage.
Yeah, I seen the photos. You have a very nice, clean garage, but it's not just you. You could sell the house and it could ride with the property with somebody else. So we have to
Okay.
we have to take that into account.
Yeah.
I think the fireman would probably kick the garage door down probably first, break into the garage if they had to, rather than going around the side door.
You would go through.
Not necessarily?
Yeah,
Go to a door.
you might go to a door because taking a garage door is a lot of work versus taking a door.
Okay.
So, Mr. Free, did you create the unfinished to finished space
What did
under
you,
your ownership?
Yes, I finished that basement with my family.
And that was without a building permit from the town, correct?
Yes, and if I may explain, I had a fight with my builder, and we had words, and things were just getting out of hand. The addition was finished except for that room. I paid him off. I got done with all the workman's comp. I had the workman's comp policy and the liability policy, which I was paying monthly. And my son-in-laws came, and in 2 or 3 weekends we finished. And what had happened was I had gotten very sick from the COVID vaccine, not from COVID, but the vaccine. And every time I went to do something permit-wise, I didn't go. I was either sick, and I've been in and out of the hospital, and so we finished the room, and then I went for the permit. It wasn't done to hide anything or what have you, or to exclude myself from the permitting process with the town.
okay. So I'm glad you're okay. Everything's fine now?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, I'm glad to hear you're okay now.
No, I'm not. I'm still battling it.
Okay.
What, I don't understand construction all that well, but that window, what would be it just to make it bigger?
Actually, it wouldn't be that much.
Well, let me address the board. I have, if I have, maybe 1 minute, I have rheumatoid arthritis. When I got my second shot, and then I got the booster shot, I got violently sick. That 3 of my doctors, for 3 or 4 months, couldn't figure out how I went from being a well-being to drastically sick. I couldn't walk. My PSA for my prostate was going up 10 to 20 points a week. And one thing led to another. I had to go in the hospital for a biopsy for my prostate because they thought I had stage 4 cancer. In the process of doing that, I had to go to my cardiologist. And overnight, I have an enlarged heart that he says, you've never been sick other than high blood pressure. And then with my rheumatologist, my numbers were off the chart. So what it came down to was I'm one of those individuals. I do not have the luck of the Irish. They deemed me that I got sick from the vaccine. So now what I want to explain to you folks, and I'm not trying to be a wise guy, no matter what happens at that house, God forbid there was a fire, I'm not capable of climbing up and going through the egress. Even if it's there, I'm going through that garage door. I cannot walk. I am still in physical therapy at St. Catherine's here in Comac. And I'm scheduled, I have to wait to see June or July to have some nerves burned off my spine so I can walk again. So I'm just, and I'm like I said, I don't have a thesaurus. I don't know what words to use. I know you're here for the public good. But God forbid something happen, I'm telling you, I'm going through the door and through the garage. I'm not going through any egress. I couldn't.
And this is a family room in the basement? Is this just like a hangout den?
Yes,
Is it
that's all
TV
it
on the
is.
wall?
There's
Okay.
a couch and a TV.
Do you have young children or older children?
No, all my children. My children are all in their mid 30s to 40s.
All right, so it's one big open space.
Yes, sir.
And you said there's plumbing and all sorts of piping in that wall?
You can actually see it.
Yes, at the which would be the other garage, where the other garage door. That was a two-car garage originally that we converted. Okay, so everything at that other end is in that wall, up and down, what have you.
See it.
Oh, yeah, from the garage side.
You can see it. That's that wall.
See, but if we did some kind of striping that you wouldn't have storage, it would be a dedicated path of egress. It would have to be this kind of zigzag through the garage. I don't know if that's going to work. With the other door.
You exit. So here we do. We step out the door. We go 2 feet to the first garage door, or 5 feet to the second garage door. And if we had to go through the back door, instead of going to the left, you go to the right. I think it's 8 or 10 feet, 12 feet, and then you walk 10 feet, and there's the other door. I'm more than willing to put striping or put signs up for the other door.
Yeah, the garage doors don't qualify as emergency escape and rescue opening. It's the hinge door in the back of the garage that we're trying to.
And that's an oversized door, gentlemen. Anybody could get through there with God forbid firemen had to bring a gurney in or whatever they call it.
So is that where we're leaning here to try and do some mitigating factors, or do we agree with the appeal that disqualifies?
Discuss.
Okay.
We need to discuss it.
Can I ask the board something just for future reference for my own, because I'm also a New York State building inspector, CEO. So garage doors are definitely not allowed to be used as an emergency escape opening. Is that written in stone?
The overhead door.
The overhead garage door.
Not qualified.
You'd have to, if there's no power, you wouldn't be able to use them, and you'd have to use the manual pull handle on above you.
Of course.
And then manually open up the garage if you could.
Yeah. Would you be amenable to installing like battery backup emergency lighting in the garage? Is one of the
Absolutely, and I have a backup generator for the whole house.
That helps.
Okay. So you're amenable to striping, battery backup, not storing in the path of egress? Anything else?
Absolutely. I would never do anything to jeopardize myself or my family, fellas.
And And what was there is a hardship or there is no hardship to put a EERO in that window, the hopper window towards the front of the house? Is that a heavy lift?
For me, I can tell you, and my wife who has back trouble, we would never be able to go through the egress. I couldn't physically do it. I have a hard enough time walking now, and that's the God's honest truth.
And there's no sleeping down here or anything like that?
No, no, no. There's no bathroom down there. It's just a couch to if they want to go down and watch TV. But every room in the house has a TV, and the sunroom has a TV, and the living room has a TV.
Yeah.
I spent all this money, and nobody, even when we're out there, no one goes down there. So I'm not trying to BS you or give you a runaround, but I'm just explaining to you. And
No,
that's,
we understand. It's a garage is the most hazardous space in the house, so we're just trying to see if there's a way to
yes. And I
address
don't,
that.
and again, like I said, I'm fortunate. I don't have a snow blower. I have a landscaper that does the lawn, the snow in the winter.
You have a
I
nice
don't
John
have
Deere in the garage.
what's that?
So you have a nice John Deere in the garage. So that's
Yes, that was for the kids to go to the beach down the block.
very nice. Very nice. All right, we're gonna go talk this out and we'll come back with a decision and hopefully, get this done for you.
I really appreciate it, and like I said, I if you would please take into account about all my like I said, I would never do anything to harm my family or myself, and I understand what you said about the future, but I'm not going through any egress. I'm walking out that door and going through either the garage door or the metal door. All right,
Understood.
and like I said,
Understood.
I have no problem putting signage or what have you in the garage. Thank you
Okay.
so much for the meeting, and I'm sorry I couldn't get on earlier.
No problem, no problem. Okay, we'll be right back. Thank you.
Okay,
you,
should I
gentlemen.
hold on?
Yeah, you can hang tight. We'll be right back.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Farino? Mr. Santora?
Oh, what are you
Yes,
doing?
I'm here. Anthony's here.
Okay. We're on the record?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. With respect to the petition number 2024-0545, Mr. Anthony, Commissioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R310. The board makes the following findings. Number one, the dwelling that is the subject of this application has a basement with a two-car garage. Number two, a basement with a habitable recreation room and non-habitable spaces is located adjacent to and communicates with a two-car garage at the basement level via a doorway. The basement intercommunicates with the main living floor above via an interior stairway. Number three, the basement does not have a bedroom. Number four, a side hinge door located on the outside wall of the basement garage allows walkout access to grade. Number five, the code official with jurisdiction believes that the noted side hinge door located in and providing immediate access from the garage cannot serve as an emergency escape and rescue opening known as an EERO for the basement. He is supported in this by an opinion letter from the Department of State dated June 5th, 2024. Number six, Section R310.1 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State states where basements contain one or more sleeping rooms, an emergency escape and rescue opening shall be required in each sleeping room. It only indicates here that an EERO needs to be located in each sleeping room. It is not uncommon for a basement EERO for a recreation room to be located in an adjacent basement room. Number seven, Section R310.1 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State also requires that emergency escape and rescue openings shall open directly into a public way or to a yard or court that opens to a public way. It doesn't require that the EERO be located directly from habitable basement rooms aside from the bedrooms. Number 8, 19 NYCRR Section 1205.4C states that in cases before a regional board review, upon appeal, the board may fashion suitable remedies so as to do justice among the parties, including but not limited to where an order or determination has been made sustaining, reversing, or modifying in whole or in part such order of determination. Number 9, the board considers the layout as described to be code-compliant with respect to R310.1 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State if there is no bedroom in the basement. And number 10, the board has concerns that an egress path through a garage space could be hazardous and recommends that emergency lighting be installed in the garage with a striped dedicated unobstructed path to the existing side hinged EERO door, or alternatively install an EERO directly from the habitable recreation room. So with that being said, in view of the above findings, the board sustains the appeal for the petitioner and therefore reverses the determination of the code enforcement official. The granting of this appeal will not substantially adversely affect the Uniform Code's provisions for health, safety, and security. And wherefore it is determined that the application appealing the determination of the code enforcement official is granted with respect to 19 NYCRR Part 1220, Section R310.1. I need a motion to approve the petitioner's appeal.
Andy, so moved.
Okay, may I get a second?
I'll second it. Go ahead.
Mr. Pavone, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved for the appeal. Furthermore, it should be noted that the decision of this board is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plan application presented in support of this application. So there you go, Mr. Farino. We do have those recommendations. We do feel it's unsafe to exit through the garage, but we upheld the appeal request. You have any questions?
No, so then it's, my petition has been denied.
No,
No.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not a lawyer. I didn't understand. Okay, so I have to do some lighting and striping, and I will get the variance?
We recommend you do that, but
Yes.
there's no variance required. We granted the appeal to the code official's determination.
Okay, okay.
So we made recommendations on what you should do.
Yes,
To make it safer.
and I will do them. I have no problem.
thank you, Mr. Farino.
No, thank you. I thank the board for being understanding. Thank you again for
You're
everything
welcome.
you folks have done.
All the best with your health.
Thank you so much. I really need it. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good morning. Thank you very much. Nice meeting you all.
Yes,
You too, Mr. Santoro. Thank you.
bye-bye.
Okay, we have 2024-0642. Mr. Mangual,
Yes, good morning.
how are you, sir?
Okay. Good morning, Mr.
Anybody else
Sherman.
here on this matter? Sure, Barry.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank
Just
you.
hang tight
Thank
for a
you.
second.
Can't see him though, Mr. Chief.
I'm sorry?
We can't see him though.
Do we need to?
There you go.
How are you? Are you presenting today?
I'm actually let me start by saying good morning, Sherman, and members of the board. My name is Junior
You don't have
Mengual.
to present yet. We have some housekeeping to do. We'll read the case into the record, and then I'll give you the mic. Is there anybody else here on the matter today? Anybody? Just you?
Just me.
Okay, great. Hang tight. I'm gonna read this into the record when Barrington tells me to go. You good to go? Okay. Let me get my multiple papers here. This is Deer Lake Drive, right?
Yes.
Yes, I got it queued up. Okay, this is the second hearing in the matter of petition number 2024-0642. The petitioner is Vivian Kameth for Junior Mengual. Okay, This petition pertains to a variance for a detached dwelling, construction type 5B, 2 stories in height, approximately 2,520 square feet in total gross floor area, located at 68 Deer Lake Drive, North Babylon, Town of Babylon, County of Suffolk, State of New York. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, which states space created in basements may have a ceiling that projects to within 6 feet 8 inches above the finished floor, and beams, girders, and ducts in such space or other obstructions may project to within 6 feet 4 inches of the finished floor. Existing finished ceiling heights and spaces in basements shall not be reduced. Petitioner is seeking a variance to allow basement ceiling heights that are less than allowed. Okay, tell us what's going on.
Yeah, sure. I've purchased the house. Well, first of all, good morning, Chairman and member of the board. My name is Junior Mengual. I'm the owner of the house located in 68 Deer Lake Drive, North Babylon, New York, zip code 11703. I purchased the house in October 2019 as is. It was a finished basement. And basically, we are using my daughter uses the basement as a playroom. I have the height and everything that's there. I'm trying to see if you guys can if you folks can help me. I'm seeking a variance for like the overbuilt basement height and girder height. The existing basement ceiling is actually 6'5", whereas 6 feet 8 inches is required. The existing girder is 5 feet 8 inches and 2.25, whereas 6 feet 4 is required. There's no way to for me to raise the girder or the ceiling height. Right now we actually using the basement my daughter as a playroom and a little storage. So, I'd love to keep it finished. If I approve, I will take all the steps necessary to add some egress windows. To ensure that everything is safe. I would be happy if you guys, if you folks have any answers or any question, whether. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. So are those egress windows that are shown on the plan installed already?
Proposing it. Yes, I'm proposing it. Yes.
Okay. Because you really only need one, not 3. All right, unless there's a bedroom there, but I don't see there's a bedroom.
There's no, it's a wide open basement.
And I don't think you need to put an emergency escape and rescue opening right next to an exterior stair. And that doesn't seem to make sense. But I think your money's better spent putting the beam up into the floor, just upsetting it.
Okay.
Could you maybe speak to Mr. Riley, who's the engineer who signed the plans? And, that might not be a big expense, just to get the beam up. Because 5'7" is really low, in my opinion. I don't speak for the other board members, but
5'8" and a quarter. Yeah.
is that what it is? 5'8" and a quarter?
It's 5'8", 5 feet 8 inches and a quarter. That's what it is.
Okay, the
Actual.
application says 5'7". Did I miss that?
Courtney's letter says 5'8", that's in the,
Why did I have 5'7"?
It says 5'7", the staff summary.
There's probably a 5'7" lurking somewhere.
Okay,
Maybe
Summary
under
or
a soffit.
something.
In the summary.
because I 6'5" is not terrible. It's a 3-inch departure with the ceiling height. It's really the drop girder in the recreation space that is somewhat hazardous as far as getting out of the space. One EERO would suffice, in my opinion.
But they have it looks like there's a bed in one of the rooms. The photo.
The plans show a den with no door, open family room where the stair is with no door, and then the open recreation space. But he could potentially have a sleeping room if he had an ER directly out of it.
If you, the photo has,
Yeah.
and it has a.
I'm not, I'm not looking for no sleeping room downstairs, just wide open. Storage where my daughter can just play. Yeah, that's where she's been playing from when I bought the house. It's no sleeping room will be downstairs.
Yeah, so the code allows you to have a playroom, you know, it's certainly a reasonable request. It's just the 6'8" ceiling height and the 6'4" drop beam. So you're at 6'5" and 5'8". I don't know if we have approved the 5'7", 5'8" before. Sometimes we ask for padding on the beam, so if someone hits their head,
Yeah,
I could put that. Whatever we need, I need to do to make it safe. That's what I will do. Because by nature, the house is very small. So if I could have use of the basement for my daughter to play and to storage, that would be great. If you folks would allow me to do that.
I mean, is there a height that the board is comfortable with as far as a padded beam? Rather than design, I'm speaking to the board members, rather than requiring him to upset the beam, maybe there's some other. I don't know, it doesn't say how deep that girder is, was it 5'8" to 6'5" is what? That's
is
a
that, is
2 by
that
8.
a wood girder or is that steel?
It's a steel girder.
It's a steel girder.
The drawings show it's a
Yeah.
built-up beam. Maybe it wasn't identified.
Where's the mechanical equipment?
Well, one question at a time, hold on. So are we sure it's steel? Because the drawings show that it's
Triple micro lens.
three wood beams, like a composite beam. Does he call it out on the plan? Sorry. What does the drawing show on the plan?
The section of.
Existing steel column,
Oh, here it is, yeah.
and she just says main girder.
Oh, down here.
There's a section on it.
There's a section.
Yeah, no, it just says main girder, and then that's 3
It's,
2-bys.
That's what it looks like.
And then if you do the math, 4, right? 4 inches plus 5 inches. So that's maybe you had 2x10s, 3 2x10s. Makes sense?
It could be, yeah.
So if that was changed to a steel beam, that would get us maybe 2 inches, get it up to 5'10", or take the 3 2x10s and put them up into the floor, which then it becomes a more invasive alteration. Or do we say, you know, we really would be comfortable with a 5'10" or a 5'9"? How can you achieve that? Would be up to them. You know? Or approve it at 5'8" and a quarter with padding and contrasting paint. Whatever the board.
Or put a wall under it.
Or, yeah,
Door.
with a door, yeah. Which I'd rather not. Because I think.
What
wide
about,
open space is,
What about a half wall underneath? So nobody walks.
We've done that before.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
yeah,
How do you feel about that, Mr. Manuel? If, you know, we see how you want one big open playroom the way it is. But if we limit people going under the beam by putting a low wall, so it's visually open, but you can't traverse underneath the beam except for a 3-foot opening, could that work?
I don't. Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
So you have the enlarged recreation room on the plan
Okay.
is divided by the beam.
Okay.
What we're saying is you build a little wall, like a little 3-foot wall with a cap on it. And that prevents people from traversing under the beam and potentially knocking their head against the beam. Especially in
Okay.
an emergency, especially in an emergency situation. And then
So in other
just
words-
just next to the stair, we would maintain a 3-foot opening with the padded 3-foot opening for the 5'8". So focus the travel at a 3-foot opening rather than the whole rec room.
Okay, so just a little opening, not the whole thing open.
Yeah, but you would have to build a low wall underneath the beam. So we have a 3 foot to the removed partitions, we have a 3 foot opening, and then we have 10 foot 4 remaining to the outside wall. So that 10 foot 4 would be the low wall. Do you have the plans in front of you? Right, you know the
I
beam
got you.
very well. And then a 3 foot opening to traverse underneath the beam. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Would he have a 3 foot opening on either side of the staircase?
On either side of the opening?
Like both sides? Yes, right? You can have
Could be,
two openings.
yeah,
So I'll defer to my fire people here that
yeah.
if there was smoke billowing and you had to try and go through the basement and you didn't see the beam, right, and you hit your head on the beam, would it be best to just have one opening to go through? I mean, you'd probably jump the wall if you had to, but, or have flanking openings on each side. It's not just the kids running around playing, it's actually an emergency event, right? No?
But basements have rooms subdividing it, so.
I mean, if you're saying 2 versus 1,
Yes.
I don't think it would I mean, we would look, if I'm in the basement, I'm on the ground, I'm not standing up. If I'm going in a basement, I'm on the ground, and then I would search the wall, and if I felt that it was a half wall, I would look for an opening to get it to the other side.
Mhm.
So it'd be better if there was only one opening versus 2, but I don't know what the,
But if you're on one side of the stairs and the opening's on the other, you wouldn't find it. So it might be better to have two openings.
that doesn't, I mean, I'm gonna traverse.
It's only
I'm
10
gonna
feet.
search. Yeah, I'm gonna search the way I search.
The
Transfer
the
you.
if I may say something,
Sure.
Yeah.
on the other side where because there's a side of the basement that's really hard. The girder obviously is right. It's not in the middle, but like it's like I would say like 2/3 of the basement. That's what's holding the whole house, I would say. On that side, that's where the boiler room is. So which is separate, obviously. It's all closed. But that's where I go, or if the boiler needs service, that's where we go on that side. And there's an entrance to the basement.
Oh, so this is a wall here? There's a wall?
All that where there's a wall, all that can be open.
Here, this is a wall.
Where's the mechanical equipment room?
It is on I would say if
Den
you
number 2.
Oh, so this is a wall here.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a wall there.
I didn't see that.
It's called den number 2, Peds.
So
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I was talking over you. Say again?
then we're just dealing with this side.
We're just dealing with the recreation.
yeah, so no need for an opening there.
No,
I saw that was the same issue.
Yeah,
Correct.
no, it's just from
Yeah.
the stair up to the.
yeah, just that little side where the recreation room, yeah.
You know, so we were talking about, so the stair going up to the first floor, having a 3 foot opening, sort of like an open door situation, a framed opening.
Yes.
With padding and contrasting paint. And then the rest of the 10 foot 4 would be a low wall, so you don't traverse under the beam. So you'd build a 3 foot low wall and it would be visually open, but you couldn't, or a fire personnel wouldn't go underneath the beam and bump their head at the 5'7", 5'8". You would just have the 3 foot opening to go underneath. And if you're amenable to that, I think the board's inclined to put some provisions in place to grant.
What kind of heating system do you have in your house?
It is gas.
Baseboard or forced warm air?
Baseboard.
And so I'm gonna assume, and I don't know if I have the right answer, where it says den 2, that's where the utility room is in that den 2?
Yeah, there's a Navion. Have it too.
Yeah, what the alien, yes.
You see Navion, there's a wall mounted condenser.
Oh,
boiler.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
now, okay. All right, thank you.
Just a question. Where the opening is the den, where the girder is, what if I It's you folks have to grant it, obviously. I were to put like a tape, on that girder where like it's, like those fluorescent tapes, so this way it can be seen, so nobody hit their head. I mean, there's nobody that goes down there but my daughter and I go. There's no family member that goes down there. It's mainly for her. She hates when I go down there. So
The decision
I'm
would,
yeah.
the decision would ride with the property, so if you weren't the homeowner and somebody else was the homeowner, those provisions would still be required to be in place.
No, that is fine.
So, we respect your position that it's just for a child playroom, but I think we're close. So are you amenable to constructing a low wall? Would you prefer to move the beam up to a certain height? We're trying to respect the fact that it costs money to do stuff like that structurally. A low wall is not structural. It's really just a fixed appurtenance that would prevent people from going underneath the wall, the beam. So, and then I would say, do we need 3 egress windows?
No,
So which one would you prefer to put in? And we'd be saving you money there because you really only need 1 ERO.
So what's my option? I'm sorry.
Explain.
You're showing 3 egress windows on the basement, and I think you're
Okay.
proposing those
actually, he doesn't need any because he's got the back stairs.
Yeah.
unless he wants to use like den number 2 as a bedroom, which I think in the photos looks like there's a bed down there, right?
That's my only concern, is that there's a photo that shows a bed. So
Which room is that, Mr. Manuel, that has a bed in the photo?
The room that had like a mattress was is the room when you go down when you go down the staircase.
You go down the stair and make a right, or is it the one?
Yeah, you make a right, but that's gonna be wide open. There'll be no, and that was a blow bed like my brother had came and just stayed down there for a week. It's a blow up bed. It's not like and it's all out. It was like an air mattress that he used.
So
it was there
we're
for
not
him.
entertaining any EEROs for this variance? We are with that, because if we were, then we should decide where to put it.
No, I don't think,
Oh,
Sorry?
well,
the most
just
remote,
one.
Well,
I
Ms.
don't-
Ames, she's correct in saying
2 entrances there.
2 exits, yeah,
Yeah, he has the
So you
basement
don't need,
stairs.
you don't need the,
unless there's a sleeping area.
This is a
they're gonna
sleeping-
Yeah.
sleep there.
Yeah.
So,
but if we limit it and indicate no sleeping, then it's okay.
So can we explain that too?
so Mr. Manuel, again, the 3 egress windows that you show on these plans are not installed at this time?
They are not, no. I'm proposing, yeah.
Okay. So since we have photographs that show that it might periodically be used as a sleeping area, I think the family room space could have an egress window. If he's willing to put it in, and then the other 2 don't need to be in there. That's
I'm
something.
willing.
Yeah, we're gonna arm wrestle this and figure out a path to approval, but I think that would be a logical location, if he's willing to do it,
One on the remote.
by the family, the
Yeah.
remote one.
I agree.
And then, the low wall with the fluorescent tape on the opening and, you have smoke detectors down there,
Yes,
carbon monoxide detector,
yes,
okay? Navions are very energy efficient, they're not really produce a lot of heat.
Direct vent.
So do we really want to have them fire rate the closet? No? So is there anything else?
Monoxide.
Yeah,
All the lighting in the basement is flush with the ceiling? They're recessed lights?
yes,
Good.
yes.
What else do we typically look for?
carbon monoxide and smoke detector.
He mentioned that he has those.
Yep.
Um,
I think we're okay.
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 All right, we're gonna go talk this out and come back with a decision, okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you for your
Like
time.
15, 20 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Get your notepad out, okay?
Just give me 1 second. No problem.
I had a feeling.
No problem.
Okay. With respect to 2024, what's that? It disappeared?
You really did.
Yeah, I'm getting a little, but I'm sorry.
No worries.
Don't worry, you'll get a hard copy of this in a month.
Yeah. We'll give you Courtney's cell phone.
Just cannot find a pen whenever you need one, but can I guess use my cell phone, my note.
There you go. That's a good idea. Okay, with respect to 2024-0642, Mr. Junior Manuel. This
Yes,
petition is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1.
yes,
The board makes the following findings. Number one, the subject petition pertains to a basement which has a toilet room and finished habitable rooms. One of the habitable rooms appears to have been used as a bedroom. Number two, drawings indicate that the removal of basement interior walls to create a family room, a recreation room, and a den without intervening doors. The bedroom is eliminated and the shower in the basement toilet room is removed in the proposed work. Number three, the ceiling height throughout the basement space is a minimum of approximately 6 feet 5 inches. The ceiling is of gypsum board material installed tight against floor joist above and is considered impractical to elevate. Number four, a central girder projects below the general ceiling plane in the basement, and its enclosure has a minimum finished headroom of approximately 5 feet 8 inches. Installing padding on the lower edges of the girder enclosure will protect from potential impact injury. Number five, painting the projecting girder enclosure in a contrasting color would call attention to this obstruction and alert occupants to avoid coming into contact with it. Number six, all electrical lighting fixtures throughout the basement are recessed above the ceiling plane. Number seven, installing a low wall under the projecting central girder with a limited protected opening would prevent passage underneath. Number eight, one egress path from the basement is via an exterior door with external concrete stairs to grade. In addition to this, 3 emergency escape and rescue windows and area well combinations are proposed in the basement. This number of EEROs is more than that required by the code for the proposed basement layout and is at the discretion of the owner to install. Number 9, an interior set of stairs to the first floor provides an additional means of egress from the basement. Number 10, installing electrically wired smoke alarms within the basement connected to at least one similar device located on the main level of the building would, if properly maintained, provide warning to persons using the basement in advance of a smoke-related emergency. And number 11, a carbon monoxide detector is required at this level due to the presence of a boiler in the basement. So with respect to 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, the board finds strict compliance with the provisions to the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code would entail practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship and would create an excessive and unreasonable economic burden and would be physically or legally impractical. And the granting of this variance will not substantially adversely affect the Uniform Code's provisions for health, safety, and security. So wherefore it is determined, is it wherefore or whereforth?
Wherefore.
Wherefore, right? Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from the provisions of 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, be and is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. Now you got your notepad.
okay,
All right, condition number 1, that electrically wired smoke alarms shall be installed and maintained throughout the basement in accordance with Section R314 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, and connected to at least one similarly maintained device located at the main level of the building. Number 2, that a low half wall be constructed under the projecting central girder with a 3 foot opening created directly adjacent to the existing stair with the beam projection protected with padding on the lower edges. Number 3, that all ceiling mounted light fixtures in the basement shall be recessed. Number 4, that emergency lighting shall be installed in the basement. This emergency lighting shall supply at least 15 minutes of illumination should electric power from the utility company be interrupted. Number 5, there shall be no sleeping or cooking permitted in the basement. And number 6, that the basement shall conform to all other applicable requirements of the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code, including but not limited to the requirements for carbon monoxide detection and stairway handrails.
Do you have the half one?
We have the half wall in there. I need a motion to approve with these conditions.
Andy, so moved.
Mr. Ames, may I get a second?
I second.
Laura, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved. Furthermore, it should be noted that the decision of this board is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. So there you go. We approved it with the conditions that stated that half wall be installed with the 3-foot opening, with the padding above, with some emergency lighting installed, and some other conditions with regards to meeting the code for carbon monoxide detection and no sleeping and cooking. Did I sum that up properly? Okay. Any questions?
No, no question.
Okay. Great. Enjoy your basement safely.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Take care. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Progress.
Good job.
Did that make sense?
Yep.
What's next on the agenda? Okay. Jason DiGregorio? Is he outside? No.
He should be outside. He's there personally. This is Jared Mandel, architect.
Jared Mendel.
Outside the door?
You're the
Yeah.
petitioner, right?
Sitting outside the door.
Okay. Will you be presenting, Mr. Mendel?
I'll be presenting partially. Let me just turn on my screen. I'll be presenting partially with Mr. Bennett, who's the engineer on the project, who could help explain a little bit better about some of the conditions that we're going to go over today.
Okay.
Let me kind of.
Well, we'll do some housekeeping, read everything into the record. I just wanted to know who's here on behalf of the application. So we have you, Mr. Mendel, we have the property owner, Mr. DiGregorio, and we have Mr. Bennett, who's the engineer. How you doing,
Yes.
sir?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else here on this application? No? Great. Okay, this is Seashell, correct? Yeah, let me pull this up. Three Seashell. Okay.
Before you start, or
Yes.
when you start,
No problem.
read it in first or?
Sure. Let me just, get my stuff out of the way.
Yeah, okay.
So this is the third hearing in the matter of petition number 2025-039. I'm sorry, are we on the record? We're good? Okay. Thank you, Ellen. The petitioner is Jared Mendel for Jason DiGregorio. This petition pertains to an existing detached, is that true, 3-story? Three-story?
No, I think that's our application is a 2-story. We have an attached garage to the 2-story.
Okay. So
Single
we'll-
family.
We'll flush that out in testimony. This petition pertains to an existing detached 2-story, single-family dwelling of wood frame construction. The dwelling is approximately 8,429 square feet in total gross floor area, including basement space, and is located at 3 Seashell Lane, Northport, Fort Salonga, Town of Smithtown, County of Suffolk, State of New York. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Building Code of New York State. Is that building code? Should be residential.
Yes, and there's no basement on the house, just to clarify.
Thank you for that. Yeah, just take notes as I read this in the summary, and then if you have any corrections when I'm done,
Okay,
just
sure.
put them on the record.
No problem.
Thank you. Okay, 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R322.3.2. As elevation requirements, buildings and structures erected within coastal high hazard areas in coastal A zones shall be elevated so that the bottom of the lowest horizontal structural members supporting the lowest floor, except for piling, pile caps, columns, grade beams, and bracing, is elevated to or above the base flood elevation plus 2 feet, or the design flood elevation as determined in accordance with section R322.1.4 through R322.1.4.1, whichever is higher. Excuse me, and 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R322.3.3. Also noted elevation requirements, buildings and structures erected in coastal high hazard areas and coastal A zones shall be supported on pilings or columns and shall be adequately anchored to such pilings or columns. The space below the elevated building shall be either free or obstruction, or if enclosed with walls, the walls shall meet the requirements of Section R322.3.5. Pilings shall have adequate soil penetrations to resist the combined wave and wind loads, lateral and uplift. Water loading values used shall be those associated with the design flood. Okay, wind loading values shall be those required by this code. Pile embedment shall include consideration of decreased resistance capacity caused by scour or soil strata surrounding the pilings. Pile system design and installation shall be certified in accordance with Section R322.3.9. Spread footing, mat, raft, or other foundations that support columns shall not be permitted where soil investigations are required in accordance with Section R401.4 indicate that soil material under the spread footing, mat, raft, or other foundation is subject to scour or erosion from wave velocity flow conditions. Okay? If permitted, spread footing, mat, raft, or other foundations that support columns shall be designed in accordance with ASCE 24. The petitioner requests relief from the requirements stated in RCNYS section R322.3.2 and R322.3.3. Okay, before you guys tell us what's going on, Mr. Hames?
Yes, I'd like to, for transparency, I'd like to state that the firm that I work for did the sanitary and site design for this project. That has been done some time ago. I was not involved in it. I know it's been completed, but if anybody wishes that I recuse myself, I will. Otherwise, I'll continue to hear the case.
Anybody have any issue with that? No? That's HEDA engineer?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we get a verbal consent from the applicants?
Well,
consent.
Hearing silence.
the owner's right here.
Okay.
So I would accept that as
Okay.
consent. So, guys, tell us what's going on. Whoever wants to speak first.
I'll start as the architect of the project, kind of being the first one to come to the table, hired by Mr. and Mrs. DiGregorio.
If you could just
Dom-
state your name, Jared, if you could state your name, address, and all that
yes.
stuff.
Sure. My name is Jared Mandel, architect, 25 Hillside Avenue, Williston Park, New York, 11596.
Thank you for that.
So as I had started, Mr. and Mrs. DiGregorio came to us, obviously to design the dream home, as typically would happen. Mr. DiGregorio, having a background in construction himself, knew how important and knew how sensitive the site would be, and how the home he wanted to be designed. He wanted the best possible in every single way as we proceeded. So as he hired me, my natural instinct is hire the best behind me. So as I'm a good designer, I'm good as an architect, great as an architect, had to come and bring in the right people on board. Was Mr. Bennett, structural engineer, specializes, does multiple projects throughout Long Island, very well known in the industry in that category. And we brought on all the engineers that are necessary from a professional standpoint to present our application to the building department. We did apply for everything to the building department regarding the heights on the house. There's some modifications that happened to the walls, which there's reasoning behind everything that's done. And I think some of the confusion that where there may be an interpretation aspect of this, of how the variances are written, that understanding even myself as an architect is a very complex site. So it's my opinion that possibly even some of the interpretations may have been crossed, but that's why the board's here to kind of hear us out, obviously. So that being said, we went through the whole building department process, got everything approved. As far as the sections of the code and how it's structurally accommodated, I'm going to refer to Mr. Bennett. But from my standpoint, the general summary that I'll give is obviously we designed the house the main house itself, everything, every part and every aspect of the main house and the structural floor system is above the required floodplain. So in that element, we're actually even above that. I believe it's a 15-foot requirement on the main house, and we're at 16.5. Some of the areas that came into question was the garage, which is not a living space. It's part of what's attached to the house, semi-detached in its own nature, structurally designed in a way where even if those walls were affected, they're supported on a beam and post system that it would support itself no matter what, even if it didn't have walls. We understand that there's a breakaway wall requirement, flood vent requirement, and some of those aspects are going to be kind of touched on by Mr. Bennett. And he could kind of take it, I think, from here at this point to talk about how structurally we worked out this design, because there is a requirement of the lowest horizontal member, which happens to be underground, which is part of an integrated structural system that shouldn't, we believe that the code was not, it may be a section of the code that's that interpretation of where in general construction, that might be the verbiage that's used, but the way that we or Mr. Bennett designed it, it's completely natural to what would happen on a site like this. So
Before we get technical, can you just explain the series of events that led us to here today? Like,
I assume you had a C of O when this was constructed.
we had a permit that was issued, yes.
So how come these issues didn't come up before that was issued?
This
We
is
asked
what we're, yeah, that's pretty much what we brought it through the building department. We got approvals everywhere. So there's certain interpretations that, you know, we have as design professionals that as the house we believe complied, just as the building department believed that it complied. And this is an after on part of this, the elevation requirement is an after thought or interpretation from the building department. So we didn't deviate from the approved plans there. I believe with the breakaway walls and the way that that's interpreted on the plans, there was originally breakaway walls, but there's 3 garage doors on this system as well. And the way that it's structurally designed is that the posts are holding up this post and beams hold up the structure of the whole the whole attached garage. So therefore, our interpretation and the way that we built it is if those walls broke away or had to break away, that the structure could self-support. And Mr. Bennett will definitely
All right.
feed more into this.
So back to my question before, so the house is done? Is that?
Oh, yeah.
So the house
Yeah, the house is
complete.
up
At what point was this identified?
2 months
at
ago,
the end.
What's 2 months though? At
When
the
the
end
house
of the project?
when I called to see it.
Okay, and then they brought it up. There was an elevation certificate supplied at the time of application, or was it later?
No, I think they had a meeting with DEC people and then they started questioning some things. And when they did that, that's when they started questioning the horizontal member. And then that's when.
So, okay, so Mr. Bennett's gonna get into the interpretation of the lowest horizontal
Right,
member. Okay,
Right, it all presented when I called for final inspection.
okay. So the house is complete.
Yes,
Are you living in the house now?
yes.
And did they issue any certificate at all?
They
or-
did a preliminary walkthrough to make sure the house was sound to live in.
Okay. I don't see in the application that I have in the submission any structural drawings at all. It's just your architectural drawings. Is there additional documents that we should be looking at to be able to understand what Mr. Bennett's gonna go through? Because that would help me as an architect to understand the concept of structural members and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sharing a
I'm
screen.
seeing grade beams, I'm seeing piles, and, but I'm not seeing structural drawings that show that.
Is that not included in that set?
No.
No.
Oh, there's a separate set.
Because it's a full set that the building department, the whole set is contained in the building department. So we could forward over that set as well, but
It was my first question last night when I'm going through this, where are the structural drawings? I mean, for me to understand what you're trying to, you know,
100%.
coming in cold like that and trying to digest everything. So I don't know how we move forward. We're gonna give it a shot, see if they can share the screen and.
Bob, do you have the drawings that you could bring up where you are?
I have my drawings in front of me, but not capable of
I'm a little behind the times as far as I'm old school, so I can watch and I can, if you put it up. But we did the foundation drawings. I think Jared, you incorporated the framing and the structural in the architectural, but we did the full foundation drawings, and I think that's a large part of this discussion. I'm not sure if you have those foundation drawings. 'Cause I can
Yeah, that's
walk
what I
through with-
will, I'll work on. Let me just pull them up, because I'm not in my office right now, but I could pull them up off of,
You want them to create the record and then
I have,
drawings?
I mean,
you have them, Jay?
on my phone.
Yeah.
Can you forward them to me and then I could share screen?
I mean, it's up to the board. I mean, we could say, come back next month if you don't have a proper submission. but-
Well, why don't we hear
So they're
the
not, they're
presentation?
not denying you living in a house.
No, so here's where we're at. So right now we're at, they just want, what the assessment we've gotten from all of this is that it's a little over anybody's head because it's a unique design. It's not a standard house build that we redid. And they always scratch their heads with some of the details about it. Case in point, why Haydeck was involved. I hired all the same people that were involved in like water projects that would be able to handle this job. So Bob designed the foundation, Hayduck ended up doing all the site stuff, and then we submitted a plan. The plan got submitted, approved, and done. We built the house, it's been done, they did inspections, there's been full inspections on the grade beams, on the pilings, on every aspect of everything that went on. All of it's spot on. We've had their engineers look at it, and then we've also had outside engineering, like do the pile talking, all of that stuff has been submitted. Perfect. The question is, they're saying DEC came last minute and they're like, hey, you're not allowed to have a horizontal member below the floodplain. The house sits here, the garage sits here, obviously to enter the garage from the grade of the house. So when you go into the garage and those grade beams are sitting 2 feet lower than the actual houses. So their argument is the grade beam is too low. So anything in structure, none of that's being in question. It's that the grade beam is 2 feet lower. And then I think you have in your notes, Bob presented a document saying that horizontal grade beams are allowed in the design, and that's where the conflict was. Once we presented that to them, they're like, you know what, we see it, we prefer you get a state variance because we don't want to be accountable for it, because we're questioning it. This is how we are where we are right now. And that's the question. So it's not about the structure, it's about that we're using grade beams below the floodplain.
So
Mr.
then,
Bennett, you issued a certification to the town of Smithtown?
I did back in 2023. So I'm personally, I really don't know what the objection is to the code.
I think it's just that they don't want the accountability. That's what it sounds like.
So
I get the question in my mind is,
We designed it for the most, which is the most
looking to get a
restrictive part of
variance,
the
or is this an appeal?
code. It's a wave action.
Excuse me, who's talking? Who's speaking?
He got cut off, so he was speaking and then
Okay.
it went silence and then
Yeah, we gotta do one at a time. So,
why doesn't, maybe Mr. Bennett should make his presentation
Yeah.
now.
let's give that a shot. Just name and address and let's see what you have to say, Mr. Bennett. You're the expert here.
Robert Bennett, Rapco Engineering, 8 West Merrick Road, Freeport, New York.
Thank you for that.
I was saying, I don't know if, it seems I got some intermittent sounds, but so far I hear it now. But
We can hear you fine.
the building is in a VE 13 FEMA zone, which is a wave action zone. And what that means is the building has to be per code, per New York State code, the floor has to be 2 foot above 13. So that first floor elevation has to be at least plus 15. I believe Jared said that we're actually higher than that, plus 16.
But
The part with the velocity zone is that the lowest horizontal structural member also has to be above that, cannot be below that 15. The entire facility, the house, there's 2 parts of this, the main house and the garage. The main house and the garage are all on timber pile supported and a series of gray beams. The house is a slab
Who's listening?
It was installed with.
He's got a bad connection. No, you're cutting out, Mr. Bennett.
Fine for a while.
It sounds good on my end. I don't know. Okay.
Okay, now you're sounding okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna put my hand up when it goes out, so you can see me, okay? As soon as you
Gotcha.
start getting choppy, I'm gonna put my hand up. Okay, go
Okay.
ahead.
So the entire house is built on a pile-supported foundation. The main structure is slab on grade, and the grade beams, there is no enclosures below that. It's all fill, and it's all supported on piles and grade beams. And according to the code, FEMA, the grade beams, pile caps is not considered a horizontal structural member. And that is part of R322.3.2.
That's what's in question.
And in addition, there's also on the website, if you go to the FEMA website, they define lowest horizontal structural member.
So what is
In
it in this project? What's the lowest horizontal structural member? Or you feel you don't have one?
We do have
It's
one.
not considered a lowest, there isn't anyone. Everything is built from the slab on up, which would be plus 16, I believe. Jared, that's the elevation, correct? So for the main house, we're not below, we're above the FEMA elevation. And we need to be at plus 15, and we're at plus.
We'll go up.
Nobody might have.
FEMA memo also.
We
Yeah,
lost you there. Yeah, about 30
You might have to
seconds.
shut your video off if you have bad streaming.
did the
Okay,
board
maybe.
receive the memo that Mr. Bennett included in there? I'm just curious, because it seems like you guys are missing some things, so.
Yes, that we did receive.
Okay. And that's where he's talking about that there's additional flyer from FEMA to clarify that situation.
I'm
What's
gonna
the
read it
size?
So this is-
verbatim. In an elevated building, the lowest beam, joist, or other horizontal member that supports the building is the lowest horizontal structural member. Grade beams.
Hands up, hands up.
Lowest horizontal members. So that negates that whole argument. I'm not even sure why that was even. I shut off my video, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Sound
he
good?
presented that to them, and then when he presented that, they were like, you know what, go for a state variance, because
Right.
that's when they said that.
So this is, CJ stepped out. This is an appeal.
It sounds like it has the makings of an appeal. Is anybody from the town here?
No,
Okay, nobody from the town of Smithtown's here?
I have a question.
Go ahead. Mr.
So-
Noel.
Does SWIP come into play? How big is the property? Is it an acre?
4 acres.
Okay, so stay with me for a second. Does SWIP come into play on something like this, which means that an NOI gets issued before construction starts, where DEC issues a letter of intent that gets signed by the town on a residential property?
It sounds like the DC came in late on this.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. So we gotta figure, he's living in the house. There's a clarification that needs to be put on the table
Mhm.
and follow a process. Where it went backwards, we don't know. So we're getting testimony from Mr. Bennett, who's a structural engineer, and we know he has great credentials to say that this is okay.
Right.
Question is, if FEMA or DEC, which one is making a comment to this, what is that comment that they're?
It's not FEMA. It's not FEMA. FEMA's already done.
DEC.
Yeah, it's DEC.
So then,
And the building department is okay too. I think the DEC came in at the end, and they're the ones asking, how is a horizontal member below the floodplain okay?
okay, so but wouldn't that go directly to them?
That the locals want
Local-
to send us.
Wouldn't Mr. Bennett be submitting that information to them?
We did. We submitted it to, everything goes back to the town, never to DEC. I think that the town is the hub, DEC speaks to the town, is how I've gotten it, and I've been in every meeting, because I'm a builder by trade, so I've been engaged in it, and I'm the homeowner. And, it basically, the final assessment was, with how I'm looking from a bird's eye, is that I guess they didn't do their process with the DEC during the approval process. And now here we are, the house is finished, and the DEC questioned it. When the DEC questioned, they were gonna do a site visit. When Bob presented them with the facts of what he had, they called off the site visit, and they says, just get a state variance.
Of what?
Of just that the horizontal member is acceptable.
I think it was a miss, I think they realized it was a miss from the building department.
What is the,
Hold on, one at a time, one person at a time.
I guess they just want you to, I don't know, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Jared, maybe you know what the legal answer is on that?
I believe that the building department, to some degree, when the DEC brought up that the garage was under the elevation, possibly, that may have triggered, well, what's going on with the main level of the house. And I believe what happened is the elevation certificate was issued to them. And on the elevation certificate, the way that the property is classified, it's interpreted that the lowest horizontal member is the lowest structural member. But as I explained to the building department, you have skyscrapers in New York City that go, God knows, hundreds of, 100 feet below the ground. And I think the interpretation here is we're talking about a grade beam that's completely below the ground, where the water is going to come in, and the way that we have it is that there's a lower grade beam and there's a wall system that goes upwards, and now the water it's structurally designed in a custom way that they might not be used to. And I think that it's just a lack, I don't want to say lack of understanding, but it may be, it's above me as an architect. Bob had designed this system that's extremely complex, that's, I know it takes, a great deal of knowledge to come up with something like that. And I think we're just in that gray area of that there's a grade beam, and we're way above what the intention of the code is supposed to be, which we're 1.5 feet above what our requirement even is. So they're talking about a lowest horizontal member of a floor system. There is no floor system that's applicable to this code in that section. They're talking about a grade beam that's 9 feet below.
If it was floor joist, it would be the floor, the bottom of the floor frame.
Yes, yeah.
But there are none.
Why can't we say that the bottom of the slab, because conceptually, they're trying to
Right.
prevent the flooding at the first habitable level, right?
Yeah,
I think that's
exactly.
the concept.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't it be the slab?
It's.
That's what we said.
Right.
That's what we've been saying. We
Is
don't
there a
understand.
definition in the FEMA code?
I'm reading it right now, because it's hard, but he states that it's the
Mine's a low stuff.
lowest floor, including, it says requirements to keep the entire building in a V zone above the anticipated breaking wave height of a base flood storm surge. So as long as whatever that structure is attached to, that is above the breaking wave height, then that's the definition.
Right. It is.
so I guess then, is this an appeal of the?
Yeah, the question, yeah, I'm not concerned from a structural standpoint. I think structurally, we're okay. And I'll point out too, that, and it's shown on the site plan, there is a stone wall that would break up waves.
That's right.
That would be coming in from the sound
Yeah.
anyway.
Full foot.
The only question in my mind now is, okay, is this an appeal or a variance? And that's where I mean, if we're saying that this is in accordance with code, then
What about the
it would be
garage?
an appeal.
What about
Yeah,
the
there's exactly the garage is. We might need something for the garage. Yeah,
What's
that
the elevation?
is.
I'm sorry, Jared. What's the elevation of the garage? I'm trying to get my elevation
I
certificate.
think it's like 13.
Elevation of the garage is. Let me just.
The garage is a separate entity. The house is plain, straightforward, compliant. It's a pile-supported foundation. No horizontal structural members are considered, and everything, it's a plus 16.5. The garage is a different story in that
part of that, because of the slope from the street, yes, that is below plus 15. But,
It is attached to the house though.
yes, but that portion is, you have the lowest horizontal member. He's got an breakaway wall system. So in other words, the lowest horizontal member in the garage is above that 15.
So did the DEC give any documentation at all, or just said go? So
No.
here's my question to you, as a homeowner.
I've never met with the DEC
Right,
once.
but I guess this is also to the rest of the board too. If we rule on something, does that affect you moving forward if this is not required? Does it affect your insurance rating because?
My insurance is done. I've already gotten my FEMA certificate submitted. They've given me insurance. I'm done with everybody. The only thing is just town getting the certificate of occupancy. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah, insurance wise, everything meets, nobody's questioned any of
But if we
it.
do something or say something.
No, it won't affect me.
Something here.
Who's that? So it comes down to the definition of a lowest horizontal structural member.
I think that's what's going on.
But then what,
Because in my mind, I'm thinking, sorry to
No,
interrupt,
it's-
just finished floor, we have BFE, DFE, floor level. The slab level of the garage, we've done in the past, it's the slab level of the garage. If it's less than 15, you have flood vents and you.
I have five flood vents,
You
three
got-
garage doors.
You got a variance for freeboard.
Yeah.
Now, because this is a slab on grade, there's an interpretation there, I mean,
But a garage.
Is there any
can be
commentary?
below- A garage can be below the,
yes, because it's a storage garage.
yeah,
Motor vehicles, whatnot.
yes. So.
even though,
It would have to be 13,
Wise.
the garage. Not 15.
Yeah.
Right? It would have to be a
It'd
BFE.
be any level.
However, in the garage, the lowest
breakaway-
horizontal structural member is above, and below that is anything below 15 is a breakaway wall with flood vents.
So it's sounding to me that this is in compliance and that we should be granting an appeal
An
to the
appeal.
variance.
Do we want to do that based on testimony?
yes,
Want to see structural drawings?
we don't have structural plans.
No, but we have plans on the elevation, it's only the garage.
I could share them if you need. I do have them. on my
All right, we're
office
just trying to
system.
I's and T's here, make sure everything is, we can reference drawings with dates and stuff like that. Are they as-built or the proposed ones?
They were, it was built exactly how it was planned. So they're the proposed structural drawings that were approved by the building department.
And we have the elevation certificate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much nothing's changed since we've built, other than minor little, cosmetic interior stuff.
So the bottom of lowest horizontal structural member on the elevation certificate with no seal on it states 9. Like, what is that, to the grade beam? Is that
That's
right?
to the grade beam, yeah. Underneath the ground. Right, Bob? Just so I don't want to answer for you.
Yes, everything, the grade beams and the piles are all below grade. So that does not count as a lowest horizontal member, both in the code, and both in the FEMA online definition.
So what does the elevation 9 reflect? The horizontal structural member? Am I missing something?
What imagery?
This is by Neil Grange, and he didn't sign and seal the elevation certificate, but I'm curious on what the 9 is.
That's the problem.
Do we know?
It's the grade beam below the grade, so it's
Yeah.
right, Bob? Am I wrong?
Grade beams
That's
aren't.
that's
they don't
irrelevant.
qualify.
That should be irrelevant. It's not defined as the lowest horizontal.
Yes,
structural
he's right.
member.
Yeah. It's not a horizontal, it's not defined as a
So
horizontal
maybe
member.
it's wrong. I didn't see the elevation certificate, but if that's the case, it's incorrectly defined.
Right.
So that, this is Courtney, so that may be the problem,
Yeah.
that they have an elevation certificate.
That was the catalytic of the problem
Yeah.
originally.
But the
in
building department debated us on that as well. They said that they're correct on how they're
right,
defining
right.
it.
But a comment, perhaps the elevation certificate has a place for comment. And they should define that the lowest horizontal member of the grade group is not a structural, that is not a structural because it's below grade. Maybe the surveyor didn't know this, and maybe that's why he put that there. But per testimony from Mr. Bennett, the garage, the lowest horizontal member in an elevated space is above the wave height requirement.
Correct.
So maybe it's just a correction of the elevation certificate that's necessary.
We did that. We did correct it.
And what did they say?
They still wanted this.
So they never issued anything in writing?
Well, they issued something in writing.
They
but
It
they-
did it was very unconventional.
No, the DEC, the only reason we know they're present is via them saying it. That's the only reason I know that.
So Mr. Bennett, you can't go back to them and sit with them and say, here's what we have, and have some type of a,
Certificate?
Yeah, with the correct
understanding?
drawing,
Correct, right.
because we have because in essence, we have the incorrect drawing right here. So if the drawing was corrected, where was the correct drawing?
There isn't a correction.
It's not the
on
drawing
addition.
that was wrong. They said it was his submission on, he should have used an A diagram or a B diagram.
Yes,
Like,
exactly right.
There's a diagram of how you submit it, and he submitted the wrong diagram type. But I don't know exactly what that means, but that's how it was said. And then he changed it and gave them what they wanted. But then that still, I guess, kept in their head with the horizontal member, and that's how that came
Right,
about.
but if Mr. Bennett gives them a clarification in writing as a professional
He did
engineer,
that. He did that.
and they still said you have to come here?
Yeah, it was very evasive. She's like, you just need to get a state variance, Jason. We're not gonna make site visits. We've kind of come to the conclusion that if the state's fine with it, we're fine with it. And that's how she ended it. And then that's how we came here.
You want to try and get Mr. White on the phone?
That would be good. Yeah.
We've done that in the past, it's just not expeditious. Sometimes you gotta wait. See if we can get him on the horn, but,
Let me ask Lola if she can.
this is,
Jack, do you have that section of the code, that 322.3.2?
Josephine is the plan examiner.
I think it's in the,
It's in that letter, and plus the excerpt from the FEMA definition of lowest horizontal member. Those, it's restated again, that the gray beams are not considered lowest horizontal structural members. So
what
I
about
did-
the floor slab?
the
What about the floor
slab,
slab?
the floor slab, first of all, it is above it anyway, so.
Oh, no, I know, I'm trying to help you, like, if, why wouldn't it? Is there any kind of code commentary on that, if it's a slab on grade, that it's not a lower structural member? What, I get the foundation aspect of it, but the floor system, why, like, if it was wood frame, it would be the wood frame floor.
It will be
Conceptually,
in the bottom of the wood frame floor, correct.
and the bottom of the concrete slab, wouldn't that help your situation?
And the bottom of the concrete slab is at plus 16.
Yeah,
Yes.
If you want to consider that, correct.
I don't know, this is not my forte, so I'm just asking the question, is there somewhere that has that interpretation? Sometime there's code commentary? I don't know. The use of fill or structural support is prohibited, the grading. No.
I think what we are,
Need to get-
we have everything else. We
Yeah.
have the definitions, the interpretation. We have the professional, the expert, but we don't have the drawings that show that this is a great beam.
Supporting the testimony, yeah.
Actually, it's designed as one, and therefore we can go forward with it. Now.
You
we
want me to
have-
email that to you right now or share screen or, because I have it.
I think the
Maybe
bottom,
straight to appeal, and that's it on the testimony and the documents we have.
You have, Jared, you have the approved plans? Signed and
Um,
sealed by the town of Smithtown? That you could
Oh,
share?
you're right. Yeah, it doesn't have their seal on it, but it
So if
is
you
my,
could share the screen and show that they're the approved plans and we could assign a date on it, then conceivably we could review that with you
yeah,
guys.
no, this is my copy of the unsigned and sealed, so I'd say that I have the copy, but not the one that's stamped by the building department approved.
I think if you got the surveyor to reevaluate his elevation certificate and properly identify the lowest horizontal structural member, we're okay. The house. And as far as the garage, the lowest horizontal member is lower, but excuse me, the slab elevation is lower, but the horizontal member in the garage is higher with breakaway walls below that. That's an
You want it?
enclosure.
Do you want to try that with the town of Smithtown and see if it works? Because they might not accept it.
You might
Yeah,
not-
I don't think they're gonna accept, I mean, there's one section here that I believe we are asking for a relief
We
is
had them weigh in
the
already.
breakaway walls on,
Weighed into them too. And they're not even saying no. They're not saying like you're, no, they're just like, kind of like, it almost feels like they're looking to push it.
Yeah, I don't
You
like,
understand what I'm saying?
I don't like to be in the rescue business.
I get it.
I think we need
Yeah.
to have a
Yeah.
substantive submission and then we'll.
We're all shaking our heads going, wait, if we submitted this and we submitted this and we submitted that, isn't that the answer? In our heads. And then she's like, then they come back and they're like, no, yeah, you know, you gotta go to this, get a state variance.
But one thing is, it's not critical path, you're in the house.
Well, it's, I mean, how critical, I don't know. I mean, you know, like, at the end of the day, I moved in because the house is sound. I'm done with every single inspection but my final. And,
But
you
what
know,
I mean at this point is that if you have to go back to them and have a clarification submitted and say that you met with this board, and at this point in time, we could submit a further clarification, and yeah, if you have to come back to us, then you come back.
yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that. But I think
But I think we're gonna be back.
No, I think we could just say, you know, we want this elevation certificate properly submitted to the town of Smithtown. And that if they don't accept it, we can leave the case open and you can come back and we request that the
okay,
town of
leave the
Smithtown
case open.
representative
Yeah, that'd be great. I
back
thought we were closing
state
it. Okay.
his case and why,
Right,
and then we'll hear what he has to say along with,
that's the
know,
point,
the
right?
professional-
Like, let them tell you, like,
Yeah.
you know, we're just telling you what we did and why we did it. We know that. I don't know why on their end they're objecting it. I don't know that. I think it's more, they never objected it. I think it's just because, like how Jared said, I think they're just unsure of themselves on how the code interprets. That's what it comes down to, where Bob is firm on it.
somebody's got they got to commit a decision and cite the code.
Right, like I think if Bob was to
Like
give
it's
a
all-
letter saying that's what it is and it's right, then why is that not enough? If he's a professional at that, I would think. For me, that's what I would think.
It's an engineered
Right,
solution that goes beyond
Yeah.
the knowledge of the code official.
yeah, which is understandable because it's a very
It
unique
is.
project. I'm not even like, when this was all happening, I said to the guys, I understand. And I said, you gotta be very delicate in how you call people's competency, but I said, I build houses every day. I don't do
It's not just,
systems like this. Well, but you know
it's a
what I'm saying?
waterfront house.
It
It's not
is.
crazy.
But it's just like
design.
how they're reading it, like that in-between code. And, you know, for us, it's so clear and concise because we're so invested in the job, every minute of it. But then there's people picking it up that are looking at it for 3 minutes and making a statement.
Yeah, the elevation certificate is key.
Right, right. So that when you're looking at it, from like you guys said, you just pick it up right now. It's like, wait, what am I looking at here? You have to digest it for a minute. You know? But like I said, we've expired everything. I think that maybe having somebody from them would be probably the answer. Because they can, you know, say exactly what it is they're in question.
The bottom line is the interpretation is up to the local code official.
Right.
And we need to know where that's coming from.
Mhm.
It needs to, not just that they're uncomfortable,
Right,
they need to cite,
That's correct.
right.
and then, you know, if maybe this will satisfy them. Maybe you have a signed and sealed elevation certificate that states what the lowest structural member is. They
Why,
should be able to accept it because it's being certified.
why on the elevation certificate am I seeing two elevations?
Which ones?
Well, you have the house and then you have the garage maybe.
Yes, you would have, the house is gonna be at 16.5.
What page is
No,
that?
I'm saying-
Number 2?
Yeah, and section B, flood insurance rate map, and then,
There's 2 zones. There's a VE and an AE.
saying base flood elevation,
Is that why? Because there's 2 zones?
DFV zone.
13 and 12? That be it? Is there two zones, there's split zone?
Yes, the house is not all in VE.
So there you go, 13.
Part is and part isn't.
So the V is 13.
Right,
there's
exactly.
A-
Only part of the house is in that area.
Gotcha.
So could the issue be that they're going with the lowest, even though perhaps the garage, does the garage fall in the VE or?
It does. The garage falls in the VE.
Because normally they would assess the property
Right.
as whatever is the most hazardous classification.
The whole house meets the VE requirement, if that's what you're asking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the whole house does.
Correct.
The town, we tried to contact Smithtown, they're all in training.
The damn train.
Okay, so at this point, I guess I'll make a motion to adjourn this until further clarification can be obtained from the code officials.
Submission of an updated signed and sealed elevation certificate to the town of Smithtown,
Yeah.
right? And then if it is unacceptable, then you can come back to us with the code officials to state his case, so he doesn't get appealed.
But they're gonna have to give some more detail than they just wanna send it to
Yeah.
this board.
Jared, that letter, does that letter indicate anything on the letter that was submitted from Josephine? Does she state in there anything? Do you have that letter?
Yeah, the petition.
Yeah, there's a petition that she wrote. Maybe that answers something for you guys. I don't know.
Yeah, there wasn't much clarity on, to be honest, they wrote, typically, I'm used to seeing a denial letter. There was no denial letter. It literally, they sent us the application to the state with the code sections on it. It was very unconventional, but
There's a CEO questionnaire that gets filled out
Yeah.
by the local.
Go on.
yes.
And you,
That was not filled in.
oh, here's what I have here. It says, please obtain state variance for discrepancy in code compliance to the flood construction requirements. See attached questionnaire. Please fill out email.
Yeah,
drop off.
that's it.
Plan review incomplete. You saw all of that, Jeff?
Yeah,
And then it says state here, and then it says state official questionnaire. Is that?
and we did go back and forth with the surveyor, and the surveyor is saying he's doing what he's doing right. The building department's interpreting it wrong. That's what they're saying. The breakaway walls, I think, are gonna become something we're gonna need relief on because, Jay, right, we,
Yeah,
in
the
theory,
breakaway
according
wall,
to the
right,
definition, we
so
don't have.
They had a section, so they had a.
One at a
section-
time, guys.
Sorry, yeah, they had a section of the wall that they were calling for breakaway. And that right here, right? And then the thing is, the utilities were there and everything else. So I stopped and I said to myself, instead of doing it there, because it just doesn't make sense, I shifted it over about 12 feet and I put another garage door in the back. So essentially, that's an entirely breakaway wall. It's 9 feet wide, and then there's a 3-foot door. In addition to that, I have 5 flood vents, which meet the floor area coverage. So you're allowed, I think, 225 square feet per vent. I have 5, and the garage is only 1,000 square foot of coverage, so it exceeds it. But then I added that garage in place of the breakaway wall, because it acts as a breakaway wall, because 1, it's a garage door, 2, it's glass, so it would just break if ever in the event of pressure of 9 feet.
That's not in the application.
Right, but that was something they questioned, but that wasn't the meat and potatoes of the argument.
If they're gonna issue something, when they're gonna question something, they have to give us details so that we can articulate it in a decision if we're gonna grant the decision
Right,
or deny, but I mean, just for the sake of the argument, this seems to be.
so it seems that we need to get them to either define exactly what it is. Well, they're saying what they're questioning, as far as the member, but they're just, we don't know why they're questioning it if we're presenting
No, it's
legitimate docs.
more the code, right? We don't know what we're making what code we're making an
Yeah.
actual decision on.
Right.
Because they didn't present that this is the
Where'd he go? It's his case. You want to take it over?
No,
Because they gotta communicate with him to get this thing properly prepared to come back to us.
It's all on the record.
It's all on the record, okay.
You want me to get him?
No, I mean, he should be here. So you got that, the elevation certificate, you gotta get this stuff clarified. I'd like to see structural drawings when you come back, if you do come back, all that stuff, come back and we'll take it all in and hopefully get you to where this can get closed out. Is there anything else?
Awesome.
sometimes there can be a misunderstanding too, where they send everything for a variance. when all they really want is a clarification letter.
I think that's what they may want. That makes sense.
If that's what they want, then, you know, they can talk to the code, the technical services unit, state the issue, and they can offer an opinion on that, and maybe that would satisfy.
Yeah.
They throw it in the file.
Yeah,
Is
Because we can't
like
do
the
that.
top.
gotcha. Yeah.
It's like the top of the hill.
Jared, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a code official myself, and I actually just did that with Courtney clarified something that I thought, and
Whereabouts?
I use that in my file in East Williston.
Okay.
Right, and if that would satisfy them, if it's just a matter of a clarification, and they can put it in the file that like you did,
Yeah.
then the board doesn't have to
That's
be
what I did.
bothered with that kind of issue. The board is one step below the court, you know, they're just up there in terms of what they determine. So.
Makes sense.
Makes sense to me. I guess, so Jared, so you said, so maybe we'll have a conversation with Josephine and let her know how this went, and maybe we could try to resolve it that way.
It'd be great if we can.
Yeah,
All right, so we have a motion to hold.
To adjourn.
Space, yeah,
Yes.
I'll second.
and we got a second, so all in favor?
Aye.
You guys got your homework,
thank
all
you.
right?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You got it, maybe they can get you two without coming
Yeah.
back.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Fun stuff. Farrell?
Good morning, good afternoon.
How are you? So we have Mr. Farrell and Ms. Bernius, you're both here, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, we're gonna read this into the record and then I'll give you guys the mic. All right, this is the fourth and final hearing in the matter of petition number 2025-0311. Petitioner is Edward Farrell, architect, I believe, for Sandra Bernius. This petition pertains to an existing detached 5-story mixed-use building of type 1B fire-resistant construction. The building is approximately 144,205 square feet in total gross floor area, including basement space, and is located at 9 Hawkins Avenue, I believe that's Ronkonkoma, Town of Brookhaven, County of Suffolk, State of New York. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Building Code of New York State, Section BC 1004.5, areas without fixed seating. The number of occupants shall be computed at the rate of 1 occupant per unit of area as prescribed in Table 1004.5. For areas without fixed seating, the occupant load shall be not less than that number determined by dividing the floor area under consideration by the occupant load factor assigned to the function of the space as set forth in Table 1004.5. Where an intended function is not listed in Table 1004.5, the building official shall establish a function based on a listed function that most nearly resembles the intended function. And 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Building Code of New York State, Section, is that B or P? Is that P 2902.1 or P?
Yes.
Yes.
So the plumbing,
It's
the
P.
plumbing is 4. So yeah, there's no P.
I just want to get the right code section. 2902.1, minimum number of fixtures. Plumbing fixtures shall be provided in the minimum number as shown in Table 2902.1 based on the actual use of the building or space. Uses not shown in Table 2902.1 shall be considered individually by the building official. The number of occupants shall be determined by this code. Petitioner requests relief to allow the calculated occupancy at 50 and 1 toilet fixture for each sex as required by Table 2902.1. Okay. Tell us what's going on.
Good afternoon. My name is Ed Farrell. I'm representing Sandra, who is the owner and operator of Hammer and Stain. I'm with Nemchek Silverman Architects, 66 East Main Street, Patchogue. So this is Sandra's second location, and we are about a 2,400 square foot commercial tenant space in the new development of Station Yards in Ronkonkoma, adjacent to the LIR. So She has it's a do-it-yourself workshop, a craft workshop, open to the public. And basically, we have a disagreement with the examiner at the town of Brookhaven as far as the occupancy calculation. We calculated at 50 occupants, which would require us to have one toilet fixture per sex. The examiner at Brookhaven is just saying it's going to be more than that. He hasn't really given us a number, and he's requiring us to provide 2 toilet fixtures per sex. So, I've spoken to him multiple times. He suggests we apply for a variance or an appeal, and here we are. So if I can answer any questions, but I think it's fairly cut and dried based compared to what I've just witnessed in the last couple applications.
So what did you use as far as the tabular value to calculate the occupancy for the party room in the studio?
Sure. So we used the seats, and I think the calculation is on the plan there. So we have the fixed seat. We have the seating. I think we have 42 seats, and this is how it's Greg Brown as the examiner, how he typically asks us to calculate these things. So we have the seating area at per seat, and then we have the storage areas at 1 per 300, I believe, and then he asks us to do everything else as business at 1 per 150.
So in the party room, let's say you have 449 square feet.
Correct.
Are those fixed stools or are they loose tables and chairs?
It's loose tables and chairs. Well, fixed. Well, the large tables they're more or less fixed, but it's just tables and stools. Correct.
So if they're not fixed, it should be, in my opinion, net floor area of 1 per 15. You don't show that on your table. You just show 449 with 18 seats. So how did you come up with 18 seats? What's that math? Or you just counted the seats?
We just found the seats. That's what she's going to have. That's the occupancy that that can, based on the use of the space, is what she can have in there.
But when you have loose tables and chairs, you can move it around any way you want. So the way the code is set up, if it's not fixed, you have to do the 1 per 15, which then your number goes up to 30 something for that space. Right?
And I don't disagree with you on that, but this is how the code official has asked us to calculate it.
So the code official is telling you how to calculate it, and then he's saying go for a variance?
Yes.
I'm confused.
As are we.
All right, so I'm just looking at a plan, and I don't see the plan properly demonstrating how the occupancy is calculated. So,
If I may.
yeah, absolutely.
Can you explain to me what happens here? Like, there's a party room, there's an activity room, and in chapter 3, what are you designated the use as? What's the occupancy?
Business.
Is it B, is it A, is it?
It's B.
It's
Business use.
What is it, like training for ages over 12 or something?
It's not training. It's there's no clear definition, but it's a crafts place. So you go in, Sandra could probably explain it better, but you do a sea glass project, or you do a wall art piece.
I can chime in. So if you picture, I think most of us grew up with like plaster craft and things
Please
like that.
Please state your name, please. for the
Sorry,
record.
Sandra
That's okay.
Bernius, owner of Hammer and Stain.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So as Ed said, so we're a craft studio. So we run, workshops, and walk-in type things, similar to, like I said, when we all grew up with like the plaster craft, paint your own ceramic type thing. It's like that, just on a little bit of a grander scale, and that we do more than just ceramics type of thing. So people come in and craft and then leave.
So my question is, in the code, chapter 3, there's a determination of the occupancy, right? Is it an assembly type? Is it an education type? Is it a business? If it's a studio, yes?
It is business. It is business.
It is business.
Right.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, but that's okay.
Yeah, you go in, you pay money, and you're getting a product, and you're leaving with a product.
But
You're making it on site, so it's a business.
You have a party room, you're going in there and you're assembling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, they're assembling, and then if it's loose tables and chairs, you can assemble a lot more people or rearrange it to accommodate more people.
And have food in there, probably.
Or have food or whatever, and then I think
Yeah.
to be able to regulate the occupancy properly and tie it into the code, if I was looking at it, I would say it's a net floor area at 15. And if you did the studio and just a party room, I don't know what goes on in the splatter room. If you just did those two spaces, I'm in like low 60s, 63, 64, which might still be fine. Right? Because once you go over 50,
Now you're assembly.
yeah, I'm sorry, I was gonna mention
Well,
his name.
for a
Ed.
business, if you go over 50, you need then another,
So it's no longer a B, it's an A. And then it would go from, go to 1 per 75, the sanitary fixture, which I think at 60, does that make sense, Laura? At
Yes,
63?
That's where we're going.
That's where we're going. Or fix the stools to the floor, and then you're actually the number of stools.
However, if they fix the stools to the floors and they determine these numbers, then they have to add the staff, what's happening in that, what is that? The storeroom staff.
Storage
Ah.
space, yeah. The staff area storage space.
Yeah, so you would add all these occupants
Mhm.
and determine it's a B, or the 2,400 and change square foot divided by 50 for business, 50 to 150, but in this case, it looks like 50. You're still below 50. If you don't bolt them, just like the chairman is saying, if you don't bolt them, it's at 15. And if it's at 15, you go up over 50 and now you're assembly.
Just for the party room and the studio.
Yes.
Then the rest of the space.
Yes. And if you do that, you're still okay. Because when you jump to assembly in the table 2901.2, you are still dividing the occupant load by 2 for either sex, and then you are still okay. That's how I interpret it.
So we don't have an agreed occupancy calculation
Yes.
to be able to render a decision. Unless we do it, which,
although it sounds like play, we're coming to the same conclusion.
Like, do they need a variance?
well, that's the point.
Yeah.
Code compliant or grant the variance or
No,
what's the number?
If it's 50, they don't need a variance. If it's 75,
It still don't need a
they
variance.
still don't need a variance.
What's the number?
It's 149, they don't need a variance.
Okay.
Because they have 2 exits, like you said.
I think the code official has to determine the occupancy load.
You said it's more than 50.
More,
Why didn't you give any numbers?
So,
Let's smack him around a little bit.
Chairman, that's on you.
So-
So are you gonna,
yeah, that's not our function to determine the occupancy.
you didn't put a number to it. You said more than 50. Oh, hold on.
Do you have,
So if we had,
is this facility open or, because the photos we have is an empty space?
No, we are unable to get a permit because of this issue, so we're here to, appeal the, I guess, the decision of the chief, the code enforcement official for him to issue the permit. He said if we get a variance, he'll issue the permit. That's basically what he told us.
Is there a limit to parking?
It's
there's
public in the
no-
garage to the facility.
Yeah.
I mean, in your parking calculations for that building, did they say, oh, you cannot go over a certain
Any
number?
No, not that I'm aware of. I mean, we're a small fraction of this, 2,000 square feet in a hundreds of thousands of square foot development. There's a parking garage, there's parking in the basement level for residents. It's a multi-use facility development.
so Ed, what I think needs to happen is the code official has to agree on a submitted occupancy plan and then deny it. He's got to say, you submitted, this is what we feel our occupancy is, the code. He's going to say, no, I think this room should be 15 square foot or whatever. And then, okay, I agree on your submission. This is the number, and then decide if you meet the code or not. He's not saying, he's just saying it's over, there's no number. What is he basing the number on? It's over 50, but what is it?
With all due respect, that's the question we've been asking since we filed the permit 3 months ago, and that's how we ended up here. We've called in our local councilman, we've called in anybody we can to try to get answers. And the only answer we were given is go get a variance.
So we can't appeal the code official's interpretation if we don't know what his interpretation is. That's my opinion. I don't think we can appeal it.
Yeah.
So we disagree with the code official because we feel it's not 75, it's 62, or we don't even have that information. Plus, I think what I'm looking at is an incorrect representation,
One
so
of the things that's funny today is the code official didn't sign, there's no name, like I wanted to make a call.
it says Greg Brown.
Yeah.
I thought he was a building inspector. I didn't think he was.
Didn't put, there's no.
He's in Brookhaven, he's both. He reviews the plans and does the inspections.
He does both?
Yeah, we,
All the inspections.
like you need the rejection letter, the
Greg
comments letter from,
What you have, we submitted that to you from him, but again, he doesn't state a number. It's exhibit 2 in our package.
Yeah, he would just say, I disagree with how you calculated it. You really need to calculate it this way as per the code and my interpretation. And did whatever your number yields, that's the number. And if he feels that you need more sanitary fixtures and you don't want to do it, then you can come to us and ask us and demonstrate either you disagree with the way he did it, or the way he's enforcing it, and we seek relief for another sanitary fixture, another bathroom. But we don't have that determination.
This is Courtney. One thing is clear from this discussion, though, is that the board disagrees with the actual number in that party room. The board thinks that it should be calculated at 15 persons, 15 square feet per person.
What about the studio space as well?
Studio?
yeah, it's similar.
Where all the tables and chairs are, because
It's-
they're laid out.
Right.
They can rotate them, they can stack them together, they can change the occupancy calculation.
Right.
So then it's based on floor area.
So those spaces need to be calculated at 15 persons, 15 square feet per person. And then you generate the number of adding the other spaces, functions. You generate the total occupancy in order to compute how many toilet fixtures you need. So if that is done, and it's more than the 2 that are shown, 2, male and female,
Yes,
then you would need to come for a variance.
It would be 1 per 75. So if the number works out to be less than 75, they wouldn't need a variance.
even if it's over 50, but the use is determined as B, it remains B.
No, I'm saying if they eclipse the 50, but they're under 75, they wouldn't need a variance. Because it's 1 per 75 for the water closet and 1, the sink.
But if it stays.
Once you go over 50, it's assembly.
No,
That's the way
Not
I see it.
necessarily.
No, no, no,
Have a
it
B
depends.
occupancy over 50.
no, if it's assembly
You
use,
can have a B.
yeah.
This is assembly.
That's why I'm saying the architect
Well,
needs to
if it's
determine
considered
first
assembly.
and
This is why
foremost,
the code official has to weigh in.
Yeah.
what
for us to
is
kick it.
the use under chapter 3? First and foremost, determine and stick with it. Is it a B or is it an A?
It's like a conference room in an office.
It's not, but it's not.
But in an
People doing
office, a
crafts.
conference room in an office
And
is the same.
she's having people that don't know their
But
surroundings.
the occupancy in the conference room is calculated differently to establish a number of how many people can reside in that space, because it's a different use. That's the way it's done.
Yeah.
So you can have mixed uses in a building that's a B.
Yes.
So that's the way I look at it. So I really think the code official needs to step up and agree on a submission. And then establish a real number that you both agree on.
And then you.
Or maybe you don't agree on it, but he weighs in and this is his determination is that it's 70 something or 65, and then you come to us or whatever, or don't come to us.
I would love for him to do that, but he has chosen not to respond to those questions. I know it's not your issue, it's a town of Brookhaven issue, which they've chimed in on their own,
What about
on
the
their own,
director
but-
and planning?
Well, it turns out we've actually met with the deputy commissioner of planning, and she agrees with our application, but does not want to override the examiner. And they also told us they went to the chief. It's a whole, I don't know what's going on over there, but they also told us they went to the chief planning examiner. He also agrees with us, and he would also have issued a permit, but again, for some reason, they don't want to step on their other examiners' ruling.
Right, well, the examiner would have to show up at this hearing to explain himself,
Which they won't do for Brookhaven.
We can't even get him on the phone.
No,
Not from
the director can't make them attend? Who's paying their checks?
The director won't do that. That's the problem.
Make them attend the hearing.
Yeah, we did this with didn't we do this with that temporary tent church?
Yes, they showed up the next time when we postponed it, they came back.
I don't know how you come to this board without the local making a determination. They're not citing the code or the deficiency in the code for this board to hear it properly. I don't see it. What's the number? Because the bathrooms are tied into the number. How do you grant a variance or grant an appeal without knowing what the number is that the local is determining? That's a simple breakdown in my
Does
opinion.
the number have to get posted in?
If it's over 50.
If it's over 50, it has to get posted in the building,
Yes.
so, right? So we should be able to get that number.
If it's over 50, they would have to post it. They would have to establish what that number is and post it,
Yes.
yeah, and do an annual inspection. So
Are we able to try to call the inspector? I don't, I mean, we just like, we understand everything you're saying. If we hang up here, we are back in the same spot of the inspector just saying, get the variance. So I hear what you're saying. You can't issue that at this point because there's nothing to issue.
he needs to conduct a review and provide a denial for whatever reason. He needs to put it in writing. You need a variance because you have this many occupants.
Yeah.
Not that it's over 50. We need to know what the local determines the occupancy to be. If he either agrees with the submission or he doesn't. If he doesn't, he's got to determine what it is. You can't punt it without determining why you're punting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He
yeah,
hasn't done
I
it.
understand.
yeah.
So I think, I don't know, what do we do?
I think we have to adjourn.
We can hold open the case and then,
Courtney,
Bo is trying to get to see if the code official is gonna chime in. Do you have time or?
we can give you 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We'll give you 10 minutes. Okay, sit around.
5 minutes.
12:45. Yeah, she's got a hard stop, so 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah. Thank you. I'm gonna try and reach the town.
I mean, I have his cell phone if you'd like to
Yeah,
have it.
I'm trying to.
You just stepped out.
Okay.
Lola, can you hear us? Lola?
Maybe she's on the phone.
She's probably on the phone.
Probably.
You can email Laura.
Edward,
Yes.
what's Greg Brown's number?
1 second, please.
I probably have it on my phone.
It is 631-926-9416.
Do you have any building code chapters?
See all the things you've searched in the past. What are we looking for?
I just emailed it to Lola. Yeah. The petitioner just gave me a phone number that is his direct line. I just emailed it to Lola.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
When is the election starting, by 1 o'clock?
excuse me?
The board elections.
Oh, yeah, we have that to do too.
Yeah. She's leaving at 1:30, I think.
Well,
We're still on the record here?
once,
Yeah.
once Erica leaves, we can
Okay, we're back. We were unsuccessful trying to get a hold of the code official
Tried several times.
several times. So we really need a plan that's acceptable to him on what the occupancy calculation is. So we think it's an assembly. I personally think that the studio and the party room should be 1 for 15, and the rest of the space is what?
I think assembly, right? Oh, depending on the user.
Depending on the use, you know, we might add a few more people. But if it's assembly, it's the assembly use. So I think, I don't have the code in front of me, I think if that number works out to be less than 75, your bathroom should be code compliant. So,
I agree with that.
so we don't know if it's an appeal or not, or you even need to come back to us.
All right, so I'll go back to the town as an assembly application, show the calculations that way and see if that's acceptable to them. Sounds like that's the way to go. I mean, we've always saw it as a business use, but I have no problem filing it as an assembly use.
It becomes a question of, you know, you and the code officials agreeing on what the use is and the occupancy load, and then making that determination, and then if necessary, coming back to us. But at this point, we can't make a determination because we don't have that information.
So Ed, if you had, let's say you had fixed countertops around the party room, those were fixed, bolted to the wall, and there were cabinets. You don't include that in the net floor area. So then your number gets reduced, because you can't put seats there, right?
No,
You gotta get a little more granular, get the number, and then present it to Mr. Brown and say, you know, the board, if it is a variance, the board needs to see your determination on what you feel the occupancy is. And then whatever that number is, if it doesn't meet the code, then you come back.
Okay, yeah, we'll try that, you know.
All right, so.
Make the motion. We adjourn.
Mr. Pavone making a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
We got a second, Mr. Hames, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hopefully you don't need to come back.
Thank you.
If you do, that's
Thank
what we
you
want.
for your time. I appreciate it.
And if you do come back, I would suggest maybe reaching out to the regional office and make sure someone from the town is on this meeting call, so we can get to the bottom of it. All right?
Do you guys have power of warrants? I'm kidding.
All right.
I appreciate your time.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we need to do the vote.
Yeah.
I've opened the chairs.
Not chairman. Keep the chairman, fix the chair.
Okay, we're on the record, right?
Yeah.
All those interested parties that are
Did you-
on,
No, I'm good.
Yeah, all the, people that's petitioner, that's all.
okay, so we have the final matter on today's agenda. In accordance with Title 19 NYCRR, Part 1205.2, a regional board of review must annually choose a chairperson from among its members. Slightly awkward, but let's begin. Is there a board member who would like to make a nomination for the 2025 chairperson?
I'll nominate you.
I'll second it.
Mr. Haynes?
Third it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Haynes,
Your chairman, again.
Seconded by me.
Second by
by
Ray.
Kate. All in favor? We will now enter Mr. Peterson as the elected chairperson.
Please, I will nominate her.
That's why I was not leaving.
Got it? So we now enter Mr. Peterson as the elected chairperson for Long Island Regional Board of Review.
Congratulations.
Into the record of 2025 calendar year.
Could we also,
Can I call myself the Grand Poobah?
could we also elect a person to sit in the event that the chair is not here?
Yeah, I'll nominate, Rich.
I second that.
Tricia.
I'm full again.
Love you all.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. We're done, and we beat the clock.
I have to do the other.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Was one
She was exposed.
at the
Oh,
February
that.
20th, 2025 hearing.
Oh,
There was
we're on the record still?
yes, you're on the record.
He's done.
There was a misunderstanding in how one of the one of the board members
page is this
responded.
Page 16.
Yeah.
So, and this was the, okay, so I'm gonna just make a
Yes,
statement.
Yes. the
So
acting
on the
chair.
record dated February 20th, 2025 at 10:12 a.m. We had a hearing, which was petition number 2024-0528, page 16, line 16. Need a clarification on what was stated. And we'd like, which has been signed already by the member of the board and verified by me as acting chairman for the day. We have a motion on it?
You could just explain what transpired?
My accent. So my vote was aye, but it was heard as nay. But my vote is aye.
Excellent.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
So moved.
Second.
We
I
don't
wasn't
second that.
No, you weren't. You said that.
We keep making these.
So we need a,
No,
No.
this, if, no.
So keep the thoughts longer and keep the,
All right, I'm gonna put you off record now.
Thank you, Lola.
Thank you, Lola.
Lola, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, Elaine.
You want one?